This is another example of adding fractions with unlike denominators. One of the first things that you should always look at when you're adding or subtracting fractions is whether or not the fractions share a common denominator or a like denominator. When we look at this problem, we see that the two fractions have two different denominators, so they have unlike denominators. Once we realize that that is true, the next step is to give the fractions a common denominator or a like denominator. One strategy for doing that is to take the two denominators that you are given and multiply them together. So 3 times 5 equals 15. The answer to our multiplication problem here, the product, is going to become our common denominator for the two fractions we were given. So we are going to give each denominator, or each fraction, the common denominator of 15. The next step is to use what we know about equivalent fractions. What you have to think about here is 3 times what gave us the answer of 15, and we know that it was 5. So whatever operation we do to the denominator, we do the same operation to the numerator. 2 times 5 is 10. We do the same process here with our other fraction. 5 times what gave us the answer of 15? It's 5 times 3. So whatever we do to the denominator, we do the same thing to the numerator. 4 times 3 is 12. What we've done is we've created two fractions with a common or like denominator, and now we know what to do with those. We keep the same denominator in our answer, and we simply add the numerators. 10 plus 12 is 22. What you need to recognize here is that now you have an improper fraction. The numerator is larger than the denominator, and we have to deal with that to get our final answer. We're going to turn the improper fraction into a mixed number. The way that we do that is we divide the numerator, 22, by the denominator, which is 15. 15 divides into 22 one whole time. That's our whole number. 1 times 15 is 15. Subtract. When you do the math, you have 7 left over. And then what we have learned is that we write our remainder as a fraction. And the way that we do that is the remainder, 7, becomes our numerator for the fraction part of our mixed number. And the denominator is what we divided by, the divisor. You can also think of it as keeping the same denominator that you had originally. So our fractional part of the mixed number is 7 over 15. That is our final answer for this problem. So again, when we have two fractions with unlike denominators, the first step is to give the two fractions a common denominator. One strategy for doing that is take the two denominators that you are given and simply multiply them together and get your answer. Your answer will be your new common denominator for those two fractions. So we came over and we put 15 as our new common denominator. Then we use what we know about equivalent fractions to find our new numerators. And then once we have this problem, we have two fractions with a common or like denominator, and we know what to do with those. We simply add the numerators and keep the denominator. The final step is the students, you need to look and see, can it be reduced or is it improper? In this case, it was an improper fraction. And so our final step was to take the improper fraction, and through the process of division, we turned that improper fraction into a mixed number, which is a whole number and a fraction.